1 e4, and Sargissian decides to be very solid with e5. Knight comes out to f3 and knight to c6. He brings his bishop out to c4, playing the Italian game. Knight comes out to f6, putting pressure on the f7 pawn with knight g5 is not part of Gukesh's plan today. He goes d3, bishop to e7. The slightly more modest way of development, bishop c5 is the main line. Knight comes out to d2. And Sargissian castles here. Gukesh goes a4, gaining space on the queen side. And now pawn to d6, opening up the bishop's path. Gukesh simply castles here with white. And Sargissian plays bishop e6. Taking on e6 has its pros and cons. It gives black an open file, also doubles the pawn, so Gukesh avoids it, plays c3 and pawn to a5, equalizing the space on the queen side here. And now Gukesh goes queen to b3, a double attack on e6 as well as b7. And Sargissian plays queen to d7. And the point is, if you take the pawn here, rook fb8 is going to trap your queen. So Gukesh goes bishop takes on e6. Now taking on with the queen would be bad because of queen takes b7 and the knight would be hanging. So he takes back with the pawn, rightly so. And Gukesh goes rook e1. He defends the pawn on e4 and is planning d4. He has 1 hour 41 minutes on the clock. And Sargissian now goes h6, stopping knight g5 ideas. Knight comes back to f1. I wonder where the knight is going. Is it going to g3 or e3? Pawn to b6. The pawn is defended. And now Gukesh goes bishop d2. Wow, that's very modest way of development. 141 is Gukesh's time. So this is all preparation for him, or he's just playing it in a flow. And now he takes some time, 7 minutes, to go knight to g3. And one way for black is to wait and do nothing much here. But the other is to be active and play d5. Now with this move, you are weakening your e5 square. So Gukesh does chop off the pawn. And if you take here, then knight takes e5 is a free pawn. So you don't want to be doing that. Sargissian captures on d5 with the queen. And now Gukesh plays this very nice move, queen to b5. He's eyeing the e5 square. He's also asking, if you take here, I take back and attack your knight. So knight goes to d7, the best move there, defending the e5 pawn. And we go knight to e4, settling the knight on a good square. Knight to b8 played. Wow. Interesting move by Gabby here, defending the knight on c6. Rook to e3. He's doubling down the rooks on the e file. And knight a7 played, forcing the queen away. Queen takes queen. And maybe you can take back with the pawn. Yes, he takes back with the pawn. The problem now is that after the knight moves, that's knight g3, the e5 pawn cannot be defended. So he goes knight to c6, which is the best move, I believe. And Gukesh now says, thank you so much for the pawn. Now in order to get any compensation, d4 seems like the right move. Just push the pawn forward. And Sargissian finds it. He pushes his pawn to d4. He's a pawn down. And if you move your rook, then d takes c3 would be very good. So knight takes knight. And now important is to take back with the knight here. to defend the pawn and you are pawn down, but instead he takes the rook. And now knight takes d8 is the right move, not knight takes e7 because king f7 and black is doing okay here, but knight takes on d8 and Gukesh calculates it. Knight takes d8. If you play e takes d2, I go knight e6 and pick up this pawn and clearly better. So e takes f2 taken here. King comes to f1. Gukesh has 1 hour 6 minutes. Sargissian has 19 minutes. Bishop takes d8. But if you look at the position here, white is right now better because this pawn isn't going to survive. It will be a healthy extra pawn there. Knight to d7 played. If knight f2, maybe he wants to come to c5. So king comes to e2. And Gukesh is very good at this conversion phase. Knight f6, you can take on f6 here. He takes. And now bishop takes on f6. And I guess rook f1 takes on f2 would be the right way. Yes, rook f1. And well, everything's even apart from the fact that black will be a pawn down. So that's not very helpful for Sargissian. Pawn to d4. Gukesh is, he says he'll take the pawn when the moment is right. King e6. And now rook takes f2 taken. Pawn to c6 played by black. Well, let's see how Gukesh converts this extra pawn. First brings his king up. Now the question is, should you go b4 here? Should you place your pawns on b3 and c4? There are many questions, but sometimes your opponent is also doing something. So you can often let him do few things and wait for him to go wrong. C takes b5. And now b3, c4, could that be a plan? He goes g4 here. Aha. So he's preparing rook f5 to attack the b5 pawn. Pawn to a4 played. And rook comes to f5. We are on move 34. You can see Gukesh has 42 minutes left in the game, which means he's thoroughly dominated this one. And now rook to c5. Bringing the rook to the c file. King comes to d7. And bishop to f4. Attacking the rook here. Rook b7. And now there's this very nice move, rook d5. Because, okay, where can the king go? If the king comes up, you have rook d6 and a6, which is interesting. He goes back to e8. And Gukesh brings the bishop into d6. With this move, he's actually taking control of all the pawn breaks that are there in the position. King to f7. The win is not obvious. Like, it's not like this is the way in which white will win, because black is solid. But you will see that Gukesh has an extra pawn here, but he's not pushing it. What he is doing here is he's calmly, I think, just rounding up the b5 pawn. Rook b7, waiting here. Rook a6 and rook to b8. Ooh, that's brilliant actually. Bishop d6. Look at the domination. He's dominated here, attacked here. If rook b7 now, king e4, king d5, king c6, and then just the rook runs out of space and you collect all these pawns. Incredible. And you have reached 40 moves, so Gukesh has 1 hour 19 minutes now. And Sargissian, I don't see how he's going to fight this. He actually resigns the game and Gukesh wins the game after a long time at the Fide Grand Swiss. It's been a test of his patience, it's been a test of many things for him, his emotions and so on. Losing 3 games in a row, then couple of draws, and now finally winning the game and reaching 50% in the tournament. Maybe if Gukesh finishes the tournament with another win, it would be a decent end to his campaign here. But for now, this win is a show of Gukesh's resilience, and we wish him